Every single time you go online, you leave behind a digital footprint. And I'm not just talking about your social media posts. It's everything. Your shopping habits, your health questions, even where you are at any given moment. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on this super complex world of data protection and show you exactly who is supposed to be guarding your most personal information. This quote, it absolutely hits the nail on the head. In our world, data is king, but all that power comes with a huge responsibility. And when that responsibility is ignored, well, the consequences can be devastating. We're talking identity theft, financial fraud, massive invasions of privacy. This tension, this balance, is really the central theme we're going to dig into. So, what's our roadmap for this journey? First, we're going to talk about the power and the peril of data. Then we'll crack open the rule book and meet the big 5 guardians of our information. We'll also get into why following these rules is so critical and what it all means for the future of your data. So let's dive right in. Okay, let's get to it. Our first stop is what is really the core challenge of our digital age. This constant tug of war between the amazing power of data and the massive responsibility to protect it. It's something we all navigate every single day, whether we realize it or not, when we shop online, call a ride, or even just scroll through our phones. Think about it for a second. Every single company you give your information to, from your bank to your doctor's office to your favorite clothing store, they're holding a piece of your life in their hands. They have a moral and a legal obligation to keep it safe. But as we're about to find out, that's not always as simple as it sounds. So, who's actually in charge of making sure our data is safe? Well, that's where the digital guardians come in. These are the laws and regulations that set the rules of the road for data protection. And yeah, it can sometimes feel like a tangled mess of acronyms, a real alphabet soup. But we're going to untangle it all for you. GDPR, CCPA, HIPAA, I know, it's enough to make your head spin. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down one letter at a time. Each one of these acronyms represents a really powerful tool designed to protect your information. And by the end of this, you're going to feel like a data protection pro. All right, it is time to officially meet the guardians of our data. We're going to go through them one by one and break down what each of these regulations does and why it is so incredibly important. First up, we've got GDPR, the big one. Seriously, this European law was a complete game changer. It gave people more control over their personal data than they ever had before and forced companies to be way more transparent about what they were doing. Its influence has been felt all across the globe, inspiring similar laws pretty much everywhere. Next up, we have the CCPA, which you can think of as California's answer to GDPR. This landmark law gave Californians the right to know what personal info companies are collecting, the right to get it deleted, and the right to say, hey, you can't sell my data. And because so many companies do business in California, the CCPA has had this huge ripple effect across the entire U.S. Okay, now let's talk about HIPAA. This is the law that protects your most sensitive, most personal information, your health records. Thanks to HIPAA, your doctor can't just go and share your medical history with anyone they want without your permission. And if they do, they can face some really serious penalties. We're talking massive fines, even jail time. Ever wonder how your credit card information stays safe when you buy something online or tap to pay for a coffee? You can thank PCI-DSS for that. It's basically a set of security rules that all companies that handle credit card info have to follow. Now, it's not technically a law, but it's just as important. Why? Because if a company doesn't comply, they can lose their ability to accept credit cards altogether. And finally, we have SOX. Now, this law was actually passed in response to some of the biggest corporate scandals in U.S. history. Think Enron. It's designed to protect investors by making sure public companies are being totally honest and transparent about their finances. And while it's not directly about your personal data, it's a crucial piece of the puzzle for ensuring trust in our whole financial system. So there you have it, the big five guardians of our data. It's actually helpful to think of them like a team of superheroes, each with their own special power. You've got GDPR and CCPA, who are the guardians of our general personal info. HIPAA is the protector of our health records. PCI-DSS acts as the shield for our credit card transactions, and SOX is the enforcer of corporate accountability. Each one has a specific job to do. So we've met the guardians, we know the rules, but what is really at stake here? Why is it so incredibly important for companies to actually follow these regulations? That's exactly what we're going to get into next. This is the million-dollar question, or in some cases, the billion-dollar question. The cost of a data breach can be just astronomical. For instance, when Equifax had that massive breach back in 2017, the data of 147 million people was exposed. It ended up costing the company over $700 million. But that doesn't even begin to touch the human costs, right? The stress and the financial nightmare that happens when your personal info is stolen. It really boils down to a choice. A company can choose to cut corners and just hope for the best, or they can choose to invest in protecting data and build a foundation of trust with their customers. On one side, you have a path that leads to fines, lawsuits, and a loss of customer trust that can be almost impossible to get back. But on the other, you have a path that leads to better security, a real competitive edge, and a reputation as a company that actually cares. In today's world, that choice can literally make or break a business. So as you can see, this whole data protection thing, it's not just about some boring compliance checklists. It's really about what kind of future we're building. A future where we can all feel safe and secure online. A future where technology is a force for good, not a tool for exploitation. So how do we get there? It's not as complicated as you might think. It all comes down to these three simple ideas. Acknowledge the rules, protect the data, and build trust. If every single organization focused on these three things, the internet would be a much, much safer and more trustworthy place for all of us. So where do we go from here? As technology keeps evolving at lightning speed, so will the threats to our personal information. And that's exactly why it is so important for all of us to stay informed, to ask questions, and to hold companies accountable for protecting our data. The future of our digital world, it's really in our hands. Thanks for joining me.